Jack had always been fascinated by the unexplained. So when he heard about an abandoned house deep in the Appalachian woods, he couldn't resist investigating. The locals whispered about the house, a place where people went in, but never came back. Strange lights flickered in the windows, and at night, chilling screams echoed through the forest. Inside the house, Jack found an old journal belonging to a woman named Sarah. At first, her entries described a happy family life with her husband and young son, Tommy. But soon, her words grew darker. She wrote about footsteps in empty halls, shadows lurking in corners, and whispers that no one else could hear. Her husband became paranoid, locking every door, while Tommy began having terrifying nightmares of things no one else could see. The last entry was a warning. One night, Tommy disappeared without a trace. Only his toys were left scattered near the edge of the woods, and strange footprints led into the darkness. Sarah's final note said the forest hid something ancient and evil, something that wouldn't let anyone leave alive. The more Jack read Sarah's journal, the colder the air in the room seemed to become. Suddenly, he heard a creak upstairs, slow footsteps on the old wooden floor. Gripping his flashlight tightly, he climbed the narrow staircase to the attic. There, resting on a dusty shelf, was a cracked porcelain doll with empty, hollow eyes. As Jack reached out to touch it, the doll slipped from the shelf and crashed to the floor. At that moment, the attic door slammed shut behind him. The lights flickered and then went out. Jack was swallowed by darkness. His heart pounded in the silence as a slow, ragged breath echoed near him, not his own. Two dim, red eyes glowed faintly in the shadows. "Who's there?" Jack whispered, voice shaking. No answer came, just a cold whisper carried by the breeze. "Leave. This place is not for the living." Frozen in terror, Jack shoved against the door until it finally gave way. He fled the house, not daring to look back. Back in town, Jack tried to convince himself it was all his imagination. But shadows flickered in his peripheral vision. Cold touches grazed his shoulder when no one was near. And the haunting whispers followed him into the night. Desperate for answers, he returned to Sarah's journal. Tucked between the pages was a strange symbol and a warning. Who awakens the darkness must face its wrath. Jack sought out the town's oldest librarian, who told him the story of Tommy. A boy said, to be able to see beyond the veil between worlds. After Tommy vanished, the house became cursed, the evil waiting for new victims. The darkness was tied to an ancient well deep in the woods, overgrown with moss and forgotten by time. One cold evening, Jack followed a faint glowing light into the forest and found the old well. Peering inside, he saw two glowing eyes staring back and a shadow curling in the depths. A chilling force tried to pull him in, but Jack broke free, realizing the well was a gateway between worlds. He searched for an ancient ritual to close the portal, learning it required a symbolic sacrifice, a cherished object to bind his soul and seal the darkness. With trembling hands, Jack placed his grandfather's old pocket watch on the edge of the well and began chanting the incantation. The air filled with anguished whispers as the darkness writhed and tried to escape. Slowly, it shrank and was sucked back into the depths. The glow faded, and an eerie calm settled over the forest. Jack knew the danger wasn't over. The darkness was patient. He had become the house's guardian. If you ever hear a whisper carried on the wind near those woods, remember, some stories don't end. They linger in the shadows, waiting. Weeks passed, but the feeling of unease never left Jack. The house, now quiet, seemed to breathe beneath the silence. Outside, the forest pulsed with life, but it was a restless, uneasy life. One night, a haunting lullaby floated on the wind. Soft and eerie, it tugged at Jack's memory, though he couldn't place it. The song seemed to come from deep within the woods, calling him. Compelled by the melody, Jack grabbed his flashlight and followed the sound into the dark forest. The trees grew denser, shadows thickening around him. His light flickered, and the cold pressed closer. Ahead, a faint glow hovered above the ground, like a trapped will-o-wisp. The light pulsed, beckoning him closer. Despite his fear, Jack reached out. The moment his fingers brushed the glow, a chill exploded through his body. Visions flooded his mind, a dark presence, a boy caught between worlds, desperate to be free. The glow wasn't a light, it was a fragment of Tommy's lost soul. Jack realized the portal beneath the well was not fully sealed. Returning to the journal, Jack discovered an ancient ritual buried in its final pages, one more powerful, more dangerous. To close the portal forever, he would have to confront the darkness directly, step beyond the veil. Under the light of a full moon, Jack prepared himself. With the pocket watch hanging from his neck and the journal in hand, he returned to the well. He began the ritual, chanting the ancient words. The air twisted and bent around him. Dark tendrils of shadow rose from the depths, wrapping coldly around him. Dot. Summoning every ounce of courage, Jack stepped into the darkness. He found himself in a place outside time, a realm of shadows and whispers. There, he saw Tommy, eyes wide with fear, but hopeful. Jack reached out his hand, offering peace. Tommy took it, and together they walked back toward the light. As they emerged, the portal sealed behind them with a final thunderous echo. The forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Jack knew the darkness was gone, for now. gaze stretched into restless nights. Though the portal was sealed, the house no longer felt like home. Shadows still whispered, just beyond hearing, and Jack's dreams were haunted by the boy's pleading eyes. One night, Tommy's voice echoed softly in his sleep. "Remember me." Determined to understand, Jack dove into local legends and folklore. He learned that Tommy had once been a guardian, a child chosen to watch over the fragile boundary between life and death. But darkness had corrupted him, trapping his soul and twisting his purpose into something malevolent. The journal revealed a chilling truth. Only someone willing to take up the burden could free Tommy's spirit and keep the darkness at bay. Jack realized his role was not just to seal the portal. He had to become the new guardian. Freedom would come at a steep price. On a cold evening, Jack returned to the well, heart heavy but resolute. He whispered goodbye to the world he knew and stepped into the shadows once more. The air shimmered, and the weight of the ancient burden settled on his shoulders. He was now the silent watcher, the protector between worlds. Back in town, the house faded into local legend, its story told in hushed voices by campfires. But if you ever wander near those woods and hear a distant lullaby carried on the wind, remember, some stories never truly end. They live on, watching, waiting in the shadows. Months passed, and Jack's life changed. He became withdrawn, avoiding friends and family. The weight of his control was heavy. He could no longer ignore the presence lurking just beyond reality. At night, he heard faint whispers and saw shadows move in ways that defied explanation. Jack tried to learn everything he could about his guardianship. He found old letters and cryptic notes left by previous guardians, warning of the price paid for watching the veil. Each guardian had vanished mysteriously, swallowed by the very darkness they protected against. One stormy night, a stranger appeared at Jack's door. Cloaked in black, with eyes like burning embers, the visitor spoke in a voice both ancient and tired. "You carry a heavy burden, Watcher," the stranger said, "but darkness is patient. It tests, it waits for cracks." The stranger warned Jack that the evil sealed beneath the well was not alone. There were other gateways, other rifts opening in forgotten places. If Jack failed, the darkness would spread like wildfire. Faced with an impossible choice, Jack realized his fight was only beginning. He was no longer just a man. He was a guardian of the boundary, protector against shadows most cannot see, and the darkness was coming back. Jack felt the weight of the stranger's words settle deep in his bones. He couldn't ignore the growing shadows creeping at the edges of his vision, the unnatural cold that clung to the night. Determined, he began tracking rumors of other strange disappearances and unexplainable happenings in nearby towns. In one small village, an old woman told him of a hidden cavern beneath the ruins of a church, where the veil between worlds was thinning. She warned Jack not to go, but he knew he had no choice. As Jack descended into the cavern, the air grew thick and suffocating. The walls pulsed with a dark energy, whispering promises and threats in a language older than time. Deep inside, he found another portal, flickering and unstable. Suddenly, tendrils of shadow lashed out, trying to drag him into the void. Jack fought back, using the ancient words and symbols he had learned. With a flash of light, the portal sealed, but Jack was left shaken and breathless. Emerging from the cavern, Jack understood that his battle wasn't against one darkness. It was against many, and the veil was thinning everywhere. Back in his small town, Jack found no peace. The darkness had followed him home, hiding just out of sight. Shadows twisted in corners, and cold fingers brushed against him in the dead of night. His dreams were plagued by visions of a vast, endless void filled with restless spirits and hungry shadows. Determined to find allies, Jack reached out to a secret society rumored to battle the supernatural. The group, known only as the Watchers, welcomed him cautiously. They revealed they had been monitoring the growing darkness for centuries, but even they were struggling to contain it. Together, they devised a plan to locate and seal every rift before the darkness could spread. Jack was given ancient relics and taught powerful rituals, but the cost was high. Every ritual drained a piece of the caster's soul. With the Watchers by his side, Jack traveled across the country, facing horrors beyond imagination, places where the veil was weakest and the darkness strongest. Each victory came with a price, and the line between hunter and hunted blurred. Jack knew the fight was far from over. The darkness was patient and cunning, but as long as he drew breath, he would stand between the living and the shadows. Stories that freeze the blood in your veins. Final part. After countless battles, endless nights, and sacrifices that nearly broke him, Jack stood once more at the edge of the original well, the source of the darkness that had nearly consumed everything. The Watchers formed a circle around him, their voices united in a chant older than memory. As the ritual reached its crescendo, a brilliant light erupted from the well, burning away the shadows like dawn chasing night. The darkness screamed, then vanished, sealed forever. Jack felt a calmness he hadn't known in years, a peace born from sacrifice. Hope can burn brighter than any shadow.